Hello, fellow examiners and ambassadors for the Oklahoma Quality Foundation. I want to thank you for the amount of work you've put in so far, and also to encourage you just to continue the journey and put the work in. It's rewarding both for your professional development as well as the people of Oklahoma that these organizations serve and the organizations themselves. This video will cover how to enter information into Scorebook Navigator during IR or independent review. So let's get into it. So when you log in, you'll come to your screen and you'll go ahead and use your sign in and password, of course. That will bring you to a screen that should look like this. This should have the name of the applicant you're working with. Your first key factors should be done, and you should have a tab that says complete individual review, and you should not have that tab marked done. Go ahead and open that up. It may open up the key factors, and you want to go ahead and go to your item evaluation tab. And so when you move into item evaluation, you'll have a screen that looks like this. And I want to talk about a little bit of the information that's on this screen. The first is you have your items. So you'll want to go ahead and select the item to work on. You'll have your criteria items 1 through 6, and then you'll have your process categories 1 through 6, and then you'll have your results categories 7. Let's go ahead and start with 1. You have a couple of other links up here. You can print a preview of it. You've got team members' contact information. You can do a spell check. This doesn't work real well, but it is there. The other thing you have here is you have the criteria, so you can look at the criteria, and you'll have your application that you can download, and it will download it, and then you can use it. You can also add notes here if you want to look at later. Again, just make sure you save everything as you go through. But the main thing when you go through IR that you need to know is in your senior leadership category, you will need to go in and pick the key factors that are most aligned or most important with this category. So for senior leadership, of course, you're going to have mission, vision, and values. And I didn't put them in. You'll have your own key factors here, but I'm going to add that. Strategic context is probably important. And I don't think I put any in those just for the demo. Again, as you go through, I want you to get really used to saving. Save often, save frequently, save, save, save. After everything you do, hit that save button. Now you've got the references. I'll go ahead and put one more in. Should be able to put that in. Go ahead and save it. Then let's say we're working on our strengths and we want to add a strength. Well, we need to tell the program that this strength is aligned with P1A, P2, P2 of our key factors. And it will tell you what they are. Yours will say what yours are. And we want to say senior leaders deploy their mission, vision, and values through many listening posts and team meetings. And listening posts might be town hall meetings, team meetings, areas that they're listening to people and giving two-way feedback, whatever that is for you. It might just be their communications matrix as evidenced by, and so you would say, we see them do this in the communication matrix. We got to witness it, or they gave us documentation to demonstrate they do it in new employee orientation, walkabouts, town hall meetings. Maybe they have something unique and innovative like, I don't know, two-way YouTube videos streamed live with questions. All right, I'm not going to put a lot more in. Makes sense. We've got it in here. I am going to go ahead and save. Again, save often. I'll go back into it, and then they have an approach. It's affects deployment. They're learning from it, so they're getting feedback in, and we believe this is integrated. And when we look at this, it references mission, vision, and values. The senior leaders, how do your senior leaders set and deploy your vision? Absolutely, it deals with that in the criteria. Not so much promoting ethical behavior, but we might say that they walk around and they're talking about how to do things well within the organization, so it does fit. They're engaging the entire workforce, so yes, it hits that item referenced as well. And let's say they do this all the way through. Well, you may start to see that this is something that this organization does very, very well. Well, if this is something they do extremely well, you see it, it's well deployed, there's lots of learning, it's fully integrated, you have this plus plus right here. You might click this as a double strength. This is something you want the feedback writer to see. You want to talk about it in consensus. You think that this is just one of their absolute best practices, and you want to identify that. Let's go ahead and save it. So we've got that saved in here now. Yes, it deals with approach, deployment, learning, and integration. It's referencing these items in the criteria, and it ties back to these key factors. If you have a strength that you can't find a question for, and it doesn't tie back to key factors, you need to really question whether that's being prescriptive, or does it need to go in another section? Where does that need to go? But this is the key pieces that you want in Scorebook Navigator. You'll do the same thing for gaps and OFIs. If you want to write feedback ready comments, which we are not telling you have to do, but this is basically a comment that says, the senior leaders have excellent deployment of mission, vision, and values. It's fully responsive to the criteria. We see many examples of it here, here, and here, which directly helps move the mission of the organization forward. That's your nerd. I don't want to get into that a lot here, but this is where you would put those. You'll want to do 4 to 6. You might have 4 strengths and 2 OFIs. You might have 3 and 3. You might have 2 strengths and 4 OFIs, depending on how the applicant is doing. Let's say that this is something you notice throughout the entire organization. Mission, vision, values is typically one that we see that leaders have fully deployed. They're learning from it. It's just really good. It's what they do. It's who they are. That might be a key theme. And a key theme is something you will see all through the organization, and you want to tell the feedback writer, take special note of this. This is something you're going to see that's a highly integrated process. If you see something that's highly integrated throughout the entire application, typically that's going to be a key theme. Don't get too worried if you put this and it's not. Just use these as placeholders to say, I think this is really strong within this organization, and we need to go back and look for it. You'll do the same thing for double negatives, key themes on OFIs. Then you'll want to score your section and be very intentional about the wording that's used when you score it. They have an effective systematic approach responsive to the overall questions and the items. So they're answering most of the questions in black. Here they're answering the multiple questions. They have it fully deployed without any weaknesses. It's fact-based, systematic, all of these things. You're going to score them in 100. I rarely see 100. But over here, if you've got strengths, you may notice, hey, I'm looking at this in my final scoring. I've given them 1 double, 1 key. They don't have any gaps. You know, I think they're in this 50 to 65 band. So let's go ahead and score them in this band, and we'll score them at the 75. So you pick a band and then the actual number, and go ahead and score them where you think they are. We'll work on them in consensus, but it is based on how they're answering and where they're at with the questions. The team leader can work with you on that. The scorebook coach can work with you on that. But by and large, if you have a lot of strengths, some doubles, maybe a key theme, you're going to be in these 2 bands. If you start seeing double negatives and a key theme in a negative, you're probably down in these bands. Remember, save often, and that's really how you use Scorebook Navigator. So I'll just recap. You've got to add your key factors in, and then you need to reference them here. Once that's done, make sure you hit save. Remember your doubles, your key themes, and your scoring. And that's how you use Scorebook in independent review. One other tool that a lot of team leaders like to use, or teams like to use, is the notes feature. And in the notes feature, this is where I will put documentation requests. So I put one in, but I'll show you another one. Let's say that you're going through IR and you see that they're talking about this communication matrix where the senior leaders are going out and they're engaging the workforce. And they say, we have monthly meetings with the board, we have monthly meetings with senior leadership, and we have monthly meetings with directors. You might say, we need some monthly meetings agendas to see who's doing it. And and we know that I'm not going to be in one of the meetings, so I have section one, but somebody else is going to be in a section where I want to see that. And maybe it's Josh is the examiner that we both will be there. Josh is going to ask for documents. We know that that will be done in the meeting on the 26th. And then once he gets them, we're going to close it and save. And now we know that we've verified those monthly meetings, and you'll have this information and can demonstrate that you looked at them. Reports. You have your information in Scorebook Navigator, and you can export it to Word so that you have all of your information. Now, your team leader will also have a report that has everybody's, and your feedback writer will see everybody's, but you can see things like in senior leadership as you're working through. So we just did section 1.1. It does take a little bit of time to load, but as it comes up, it's going to give you a report. Again, you can export it to Word or Excel, but it says, hey, you used these key factors and you've written this as a strength. Yes, you think it's a double. It's got Adley. You've got items referenced and you think it's a key theme. So you can go through and print out everything that you've written. Remember, your team lead will also have access to this information. And if you start listing things as key themes, double strengths, you're going to have those reports in the background that shows you those. It's also giving your feedback writer information to say, hey, we're seeing some of these things. I guess you're not going to have key themes yet because we haven't actually typed in a key theme, even though we've checked them as yes. And then your team leader will have access to many things with Scorebook, summaries, and those things in the background. If you like the technology, if you want to see what it's doing, you can play around with those reports. But those become very useful as we go into site visit and have documents that we need to look at. So this starts bringing up some information that you can look at. You look at overall Scorebook, it'll have kind of everything you've documented in long reports, and you can see these reports get pretty long, but this is what your feedback reporter, your feedback writer will look at. Again, thank you for all you do. Remember, save. Can I say it again? Save. Thank you again. Have a wonderful time in independent review.